Hey fam, Dano here. We got a lot of feedback from all of you about our segment about esports that we did in episode 43, and the other night it came up again on stream. So what you're about to listen to is a quick bonus fireside chat between some of the OG Hotdroppers, Lemonjon, Steve, aka Wrigglemania, Zach, and myself. You'll hear some game sounds in the background, but I thought it was interesting enough to post up as a bonus episode. It seems like many of you still have feedback on what PUBG can do to be an effective esport, so this probably won't be the last time we bring up this topic. I hope you enjoyed the first of possibly many game chat episodes. Let's get into it.
Did you see Paul posting in show feedback?
I did see that. We got to talk about that at some point. Surprising the number of people who have been onto us about the esports stuff. It's very interesting.
How's
Maybe
that?
I need to
Early
give it another
action,
fair chance.
Slow. Also, the circle times felt longer. That sounds not fun to me. Still, like I'm not gonna say don't watch it, but
Right.
I don't think I will enjoy it really.
Yeah, so for background, we did an episode, Steve, last episode, 43, about esports and sort of what it takes to be an esport. And is PUBG an effective esport? And is it fun to watch, etc., etc. Talked for like 30 minutes on that, I think.
Oh my god.
It was a really fun chat.
What did you conclude?
I'll let Lemon take that. It was his
I'm
segment.
against it. I don't think it's a good esport. I think they're trying to force it to be an esport, and it takes what the game is away from it to even make it come close to an esport.
Just because of the battle royale element, or because the game is so glitchy and awful?
Glitchy and awful, and then also the randomness of everything. And usually in competitive gaming, you want to eliminate that as much as possible.
Yes, I see what you mean. So just the random loot it doesn't work. It's like,
Yep, random
Yeah.
loot, circles. You can get fucked by
And
seven ways, and it just makes it. In my opinion, I don't think it can reach the potential of other games for esport competitive game.
because it's too easy then post match to get bogged down and like, well, the only reason they won was because they got to a car and the rest of them only had pistols and crappy loot for so long, and
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and how like part of why I like watching StarCraft 2. I don't play the game. I have like a little bit of experience playing the campaign and that kind of thing. But I really love the competitive scene because these guys are so good at playing this game. They've got everything mapped out. They like mind game each other. They've got so many good strategies, and it all comes from knowing the game from the roots up. Like they have everything timed out, memorized, internalized. Like
Yes.
they're just fucking insane at the game because of how much they've played the game. And you
The
can't.
definition of Twitch, you know, it's like
Yeah.
Jump in the window.
they're gonna get around that corner of the map at the maximum possible efficiency.
Yeah, so like people who build flying units to take on, like to surprise their opponents, it's not a surprise because the person knows exactly what time those flying units could possibly be out.
Yeah.
So that kind of like knowledge lets them like strategize effectively.
Yeah, well, that's what I used to love about Halo, you know, is that you, especially when I was young and I had a fresh brain before I
Right.
destroyed it with too many parties, but it was that internalizing mathematics that was just happening, and it's when you actually realize just how incredible the human brain is, because like on the fly,
Yeah.
it's doing all of these calculations that you're not even aware of and you're not even telling it to do. Like you just
Totally.
instinctively know, oh my god, okay, the rocket launches up and I'm X far away from it, and they'll be this far away from it, and
Right.
you know, and there you wouldn't even, without even counting mathematically in your head, you'd be like, okay, there, if you're playing like that capture the flag, you'd be like, their vehicles are going to spawn in like 10 seconds, and you'd instinctively,
Right.
you wouldn't even be thinking 10 seconds, you just instinctively knew when it was happening.
Right. Like you would know, like, oh, I need to throw a grenade at this rocket launcher so that the enemy doesn't get it. Otherwise, he's gonna get there before me. That kind of thing.
100%. Like literally, I remember running towards where the rocket launcher was, and there was a particular spot on one of the Halo maps where, like, you know, you'd throw the rocket at that wall,
Mhm.
and it would bounce in, and it
Mark
would land
22 vest.
exactly where the rocket launcher was.
Right.
But at the exact point at the exact second where you threw your grenade, you'd hear the tink, tink, tink of the other team doing exactly the same thing on the other side.
yeah,
But
exactly.
then that's when it gets real, that game of chess, because then you get the ones who go, okay, so we're going to then hold back, and
That's
then you
where the mind games come in.
Right.
Exactly. It's so good.
See, there's a helmet in there if you want it.
But in this game, it's like, I wonder what they've got.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I find real tough as well, is that you never get into that kind of groove that
Yeah.
this game that,
So I think that's a negative for like viewers as well, because they don't know what to expect, and the casters can't be as consistent either because they don't know what could possibly happen. It's one of the most satisfying things to hear when like a caster sees something in StarCraft that one of the people are doing, and then perfectly predicts, because they have like the full picture. They can perfectly predict like what their next.
Oh, he's trying to. So he's setting that up over there because he wants to get into the. He's trying to make a cornucopia of Klubenstein. Clearly over there.
Rubenstein is a really powerful unit in StarCraft 2.
Yep.
Especially when you've got a cornucopia of them.
You really have to have a bunch. The cornucopia is the minimum amount to do any damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of consistency in play is really what personally I look for in an esport, because it's more fun to watch and learn the game from that perspective.
Well, and that's what, as a sports fan as well, like that's what you're looking for when you watch a sport, is you're trying to kind of figure out where the other team's going to go, how they're going to play. If you've got a team who's a favorite team of yours, and you sort of know what, like they're
Right.
doing this and they're doing that. So that
I don't know. I wish like regular sports were more like PUBG. You know, like you throw a bunch of cleats in the field, some are flip flops, and everybody has to run around and grab some shoes, and then you know.
This been really good. Like, okay, it looks like he picked up an actual helmet there. He's not going to get a concussion in this game. Lucky him.
Oh, he found the ball! He found the ball!
We buried it so deep. I can't believe he found it.
No, that's the ball with the grenade in it. That's hilarious. He's all over the place.
Yeah, I think there's some good things about this game, though, that make it fun to watch as an esport. I think there has to be some kind of merit here, because people are enjoying it, right? So, what are those things,
I think this game is fun to watch as, like, a streaming experience, for sure.
We do have a boot down here, by the way, if we want that.
Like, Doc has talked about that heaps in interviews and stuff, but I think he's right, that, like, as a sort of solo viewing experience, it is fun to watch a streamer or squad of streamers play a round of PUBG, but it's fun because it's a thrill ride. The RNG and all of it all adds to kind of the story of what you're watching take place, but it doesn't lend itself to post-game team-on-team analysis type stuff, because it's just like, that's what happened in that one, and the next one will be different.
Yeah, we just got nuked by the red zone in the last game, and like that should never happen. Which, by the way, they do remove the red zones from professional play.
Level 2 helmet here. So, Silatum in chat says that there were 12 rounds at DreamHack for PUBG, which reduces the RNG, which is true. Like, the more events you have, it's the law of large numbers, right? So if there is an occurrence of something that is more likely,
out of here?
then you'll see it more often the more times you let that happen. Kind of, it's kind of a weird way to explain it, but basically, if you flip a coin, the easy way to explain it is like, if you flip a coin 10 times, you might get 7 out of 10 times being heads, right, and the other 3 being tails, and that wouldn't be that uncommon. But if you did it 70, or if you did it 100 times and you got 70 times being heads and 30 times being tails, that would be a little less unlikely. But if you go up to like 1 billion and you got like 700 million times being heads, like that would it would be fewer than that. So the point is, the more chances you have at those odds, the less likely you'll get a weird event.
Yeah, but you're still, it's still random at the end of the day.
Yeah, so what he's saying is that there's
Steve, come over here for buddy ride.
Yeah, I'm coming, mate.
it's less likely that there will be an RNG factor, because if you play 12 rounds, then the people who win the most it'll be more consistent, which is true, but there's still RNG involved in a lot of the aspects of the game, which...
Sorry, is RNG random number generator?
Yeah.
Just another word for randomness.
And he also brings up a good point, and it's long to watch.
Watch the podcast, Zach.
Yeah, long to watch. And to bring up that, like, Chad in chat says, would it be fun for a 50-person game to watch that? I would say yes, if the map is small like Savage and it's a much faster circle. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, you're missing half the kills anyway, so why do we have to have 100-player games?
Yeah.
Especially as a spectator. And also as, like, a queuing thing, because we recently just saw them take away European first-person duo servers because there was just too many permutations of matchmaking to have happen that people were waiting too long to get into a match. So, like, why do we have to wait till it fills up? Like, just start it at 50. Yeah, if you have a slower map or faster map and a smaller map, it's just as much fun.
Yeah, just crank them out.
So then by that argument, could you, like... No, but then I suppose that takes away the whole... I was going to say, like, everyone drops in with the same loadout, you know. But then that takes away the whole reason to even be dropping in different parts of the map and eventually converging. You know, that becomes default.
Yeah. That's kind of something we talk about, yeah.
You want to quote yourself, Dan?
Oh, yeah, I can quote myself. Just basically like saying, John was talking about if you take away, like, the RNG, if you take away the cars, if you just give everyone guns at the beginning, you know, it's fun, but it takes away what it means to be PUBG, because this game is built on randomness. And if you take that away, it just becomes a shooter with shitty netcode.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess, like, you know, the audience has always dictated whether, like, this is something I remember, like, you know, with comedy and TV and all that sort of stuff, like, you'd have critics who would, there was this one douchebag of a critic in Wellington who, like, hates Rhys Darby. And he would say what this guy does isn't stand-up comedy and he's not a good comedian. Whereas the argument from everyone else in the industry was like, well, but, like, okay, he just sold out, you know, 10 runs in a 3,500 seat theatre doing what he does. So to say that he's not a stand-up comedian, like, well, of course, like, and to say that he's not the best in New Zealand, when, like, you know, it's not really a subjective industry.
Right.
If people are paying money and sitting in a seat to watch him do what he does, and then they're laughing when he does it, then he's a comedian. So, you know, it's that kind of, if there's a spectator audience for PUBG who will get enthusiastic about it, and watch people play it, you know.
Yeah.
But then I guess it's almost like, do you want to define two different terms? Do you want to have... We're just redoing your podcast now, like, just with me. Like, I'm just thinking it's like, do you...
Honestly, I'm probably going to post this. So keep going.
Do you need to have two different terminologies? Do you need to have, like, esports, and then do you need to have, like, spectator gaming or whatever you'd call it? Where it's like...
You guys are insanely far away from us.
Yeah, we're heading up to this dot here.
I marked a place on the map, sorry. I didn't realize you guys had to.
It's alright. Take this in two squads,
you know what I mean? It's like, so you go, okay, you've got esports, which is where it's like everything is kind of evened out, and it is sports-like, and it all comes down to Twitch, and then entertaining, spectator-friendly video games, like PUBG, which are a thrill to watch. High-level video game players play, but it's not really an esport.
Yeah. So the only thing that I could, like, compare this to that has a like, I don't know if it's a similar level of RNG, but a lot of randomness is Hearthstone, which is kind of competitive.
I never really understood how that became popular, because it just seems like you're just flipping a deck of cards over. And
well, it's a weird numbers game. Like, you have these decks that can beat these other types of decks, and then you do best of fives or something like that.
John in this house.
Okay. So,
is it like Magic the Gathering, where you've got to kind of put your own deck together?
Yeah, you do. So it's a lot of money.
Oh my God, Zach, you're an idiot.
I'm an idiot. You're the one that drove me over.
Yeah, you're the one who ran into the side of a movie.
It wasn't fully the random side of it.
Guys, it's good to see nothing has changed here.
Press
Zach is
B.
still
You guys
blaming
had
other people
nothing.
for his inadequacies. That's good
Press
to see.
B to boost, Steve.
These guys did have nothing. We just destroyed all of them.
I would say that poker isn't as random as Hearthstone, because you're playing kind of like what other people have. You're basing it off of. It's like this weird strategy that the cards that you have don't really matter that much.
Really?
But poker, you're playing the other players, not the cards.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's all
It's,
about bluffing.
it's one of those
Yeah,
like,
totally.
isn't it one of those like pennies of wisdom in poker? Is like if you try to play the cards, you've
I
already
think it was
lost.
in Casino Royale or something like that, where he says you're playing the guy across from you
Yeah.
instead of the cards in your hand.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like randomness in what you get, but you can sit those hands out. Like if you get a bad hand, like technically you could play perfect hands if you wanted to in poker.
Mhm.
Like you would just only play the games where you get 2 aces, but you would lose if you played that. So it's not randomness because the fact that you have aces doesn't matter so much. Like it does, but it also doesn't.
Yeah, and that's my problem. That's why I suck at poker, because I
You
can't
know what I heard
read
about
people,
poker?
and I just think I'm doing great, but I only play when I actually have a good hand.
I just find that what you've got to do is you've got to know when to hold them. You've got to know when to fold them. The critical thing is knowing when to walk away.
And knowing when to run.
Oh, I just got
Well,
nailed.
yeah. I mean, what are you doing? You're just doing the song now, Zach.
Oh, I apologize.
That's the tree.
Do we have any way to sum up that last thought? Because I kind of do want to post that as like a little bonus episode. That was a really good talk.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not really impactful. If you like it, then that's awesome, but it's not going to be for everyone, and it's definitely not for the people who are used to the current competitive gaming scene.
You're talking about Hearthstone?
No. I was summing up PUBG.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
But I mean, there are opportunities for esports to grow, I guess. So we'll see what happens in the future. But I just really like the predictability and pure skill of the esports that are currently out there.
Yeah, agreed.